All right, I'm going to show you guys the Wim Hof breathing technique, but I'm going to explain why it's important because I've posted about this before. I'm reading the book Boundless. This thing's 700 pages by Ben Greenfield, and he talks about HPA axis dysfunction, right? So here people talk about adrenal fatigue. I would use HPA axis dysfunction. There's a long explanation as to why scientifically, but it explains it in this book. One of the things he recommends, the best thing you can do if you are experiencing symptoms of adrenal fatigue or HPA axis dysfunction is to do breathing. Breathing is one of the most powerful things you can do to reconcile those problems. So I'm going to do the Wim Hof thing. The reason being is that I myself have struggled with HPA axis dysfunction. And one of the things you'll notice as one of the common symptoms is that you're short of breath. So you have a really tough time holding your breath. Again, there's a really long explanation for why I recommend the book. But check this out. I've been doing this breathing exercise. At my worst, I could hold my breath for maybe 10 seconds. Check this out. I'm going to show you. Just doing this exercise, I'm going to show you how long I can now hold my breath just from doing this. This is like world record status. Like I couldn't believe how long I thought I was going to like pass out on the floor. Watch this. All right, so here's the deal. Like I told you, probably 6 months ago, I maybe hold my breath for 10 seconds. My first rounds was 1 minute and 2 seconds. Second rounds, 1 minute and 31. Third round, 2 minutes. I've gone as high as like 2:15 or 2:20, which is bonkers for me. That's insane. But let me actually give you a little bit of an excerpt so you have some context as to why this really matters and how this helps you specifically manage your stress, but also allow your body to function the way that it's supposed to. So I'll give you a quick snippet here from the book. Okay, so he goes in and talk about what's going on, and again, I'll kind of leave that for you guys to study. But it has a lot to do with your hypothalamus, which kind of explains the HPA axis, and then basically a huge link with inflammation, right? And so basically, when you're stressed in a stressful state, you're not breathing as you should. It's more short breaths, and so he talks about the importance of maintaining a good oxygen versus CO2 balance. All right, so that's the context, right? And he talks about how it leads to fatigue. He talks about how ATP and ADP and those various levels, again, it's really scientific and really nerdy, so I recommend you go read it. I'm not going to take the time to read the whole thing to you. However, this is the part that I wanted you to hear about. Okay, so he says, so what can you do about your HPA axis dysfunction? You can probably guess the single most important tactic I've ever discovered for dealing with the stress that causes HPA axis issues is breathing. Research has demonstrated a link between stress and breath. In fact, scientists have figured out that you can relax your brain via deep, controlled breathing techniques, and that you can speed up the stress reaction and cortisol release via hyperventilation. This all has to do with your brain's respiratory pacemaker, which consists of a cluster of neurons in the brain that brainstem that affect breathing, emotional states, and alertness. Harvard Herbert Benson coined the term the relaxation response in his 1975 book of the same name. He wrote that by using your breath, you can alter the basic activity of your cells and the expression of your genes. It's pretty crazy, right? But more fast-acting than your breath's gene-altering effects is its ability to improve the body's reaction to stressful situations, reduce excessive stress hormones, and alter oxygen and carbon dioxide levels in the way that Ron explained, something he talks about previously in the book, to me at dinner. Short, rapid breathing stimulates the fight or flight response, sympathetic nervous system, right? So that's the stress response. While slow, deep breathing stimulates the rest and digest. Really important if you have gut issues, because HPA axis dysfunction also leads to not just fatigue that people think when they have adrenal fatigue, but also a plethora of digestive problems. So if you have a lot of digestive issues as well, it could be because you're in a heightened stress state, which means you're in fight or flight defense mechanism. Your body's focused on survival, not operations within the body, major organs. You start to see less than optimal function in those various areas as a result of that. In my quest to become a better breather, hold on, I skipped over a part. While slow, deep breath, blah, blah. As a hard-charging high achiever, I'm infatuated with the power of breath work. And in my quest to become a better breather, I've identified the best of the myriad of breathing work techniques, all of which you're about to discover. So he goes through various different breathings, which you can do on your own. Some of it, like box breathing, I've done an episode on the show. I'll link that up here so you can check that out, where he talks about, we talked about box breathing, which is basically breathe in 4, hold 7, out 8, exhale. That's box breathing. Recommend you do that. But he really talks about being able to hold your breath. So he talks about static apnea, which is really interesting. Some things you can do on your own. Now, one of the things that, check this out. This is going to blow your mind. So what I just did, the Wim Hof technique, he goes on to talk about how really powerful and beneficial it is. And again, this is a really in-depth book, so I won't read the whole thing to you. But check this out. So by holding your breath, you induce a positive stress response by turning on your survival mode, just as when you expose yourself to sauna therapy or cold thermogenesis. The results include an increase in red blood cells, the production of growth factors that lead to the development of new blood vessels, even in people with heart disease, the induction of nitric oxide synthase, which has a variety of positive effects on cell tissues and can even assist with vasodilation problems like erectile dysfunction, the induction of tumor protein P53, the guardian of the genome, which protects your cell's DNA and prevents cells from becoming cancerous. From breathing, guys. Isn't that pretty radical? Finally, stem cells, which are incredibly important to your tissue survival and repair, as well as to your overall longevity, can only survive in a state of hypoxia, right? So that's what you're doing when you're holding your breath. Stem cells are abundant in fetal circulation where oxygen levels are low. The mother's womb is very hypoxic, with oxygen concentrations matching those at the top of Mount Everest. After birth, the stem cells survive in various locations called niches in the body, such as bone marrow. So basically what happens is you're actually unlocking that and being able to take advantage of a lot of other things in addition to rebalancing the stress response within your body. You can unlock things like, and this was interesting too, by the way. This page here talks about repairing just a few minutes of hypoxia per day may stimulate your stem cells to migrate from bone marrow to the rest of your body, where they can stimulate the repair and growth of new cells. This could benefit many degenerative disorders, including Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and has been shown in rat models to stimulate neurogenesis in the brain by proliferating neural stem cells. Hypoxia can also help memory and cognitive function and even exert antidepressant effects. Anyways, so guys, the breath work, you could be suffering from AF or realize you have a lot of stress in your life and you're starting to feel the adverse effects of that with your health. Breathing is probably one of the more powerful things you can do. I can tell you firsthand, there's no such thing as a magic pill. I take a lot of supplements, right? We probably spend almost $1,000 a month just in supplementation, not to mention all the various things we do for our health, whether that's various forms of therapy. I do IV drips. We do chiropractor once a week. I mean, there's a variety of different things that we do. Work with functional medicine doctors once a month, do lab work every quarter. I mean, we're extensive, but I'm telling you right now, one of the biggest, most instantaneous results that I've experienced with my energy levels and just my overall function, feel like my neurologically a lot more stimulated and a lot more sharp with my thought process, has been this breath work. So I recommend this app for sure. I'm going to try the other forms of breathing. I'll do another video about that because there's about 7 or 8 that he recommends in the book. I just already had signed up for Wim Hof before, and so I was like, okay, I'll take it more seriously now. And I'm telling you, I really been doing it for a couple days in a row, and it was when I'm having a bad day, when I'm feeling really stressed or kind of feeling a little bit of a lull, which would associate with AF or adrenal fatigue, doing this breath work I've had some of my most productive days. I went from, wow, this looks like it's going to be a really tough health day, to, oh my gosh, I'm firing on all cylinders. And it took me you guys have been here with me for 20 minutes, and that was including the reading. So you can knock it out fast. It's very quick. The app is awesome. I know you guys couldn't fully see it, but the app is great. It's really intuitive, and it's super easy to use. So highly recommend. You'll get a kick out of Wim's accent too. Fulian. It's pretty funny. So you'll be able to hear that when you do the apps. He's an eccentric dude. He's pretty interesting. So anyways, hope you guys like that. Hope you guys like more videos like this. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you do. I'm going to be talking a lot about a lot of health stuff and upgrading your health, and just little biohacks, right? Little things like this that take 5 minutes that can just vastly improve your overall function as a human being. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, drop a comment below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.